That moment when you realize there's only 3 episodes left until the hiatus for The Walking Dead. That sucks. Hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here with another episode review, TV episode review. Guys, I just watched the newest episode of The Walking Dead about an hour ago. For some reason, I felt like watching Talking Dead tonight because I was really into this episode, so that's why this review is a little bit later than I had planned to upload to YouTube, but it's alright guys, at least I'm getting my review up. And, yeah, guys, tonight's episode, I was pretty much looking forward to it. I enjoyed it, and I want to get this review done as quickly as possible because I want to go watch Comic Book Man at 12 o'clock in the morning. It's ridiculous I have that show on so late, but what are you going to do? So, tonight's episode, guys, was Season 4, Episode 5, Internment, and I wasn't, like, really psyched about the new episode tonight. I mean, like, of course I'm looking forward to it. It's The Walking Dead. I love The Walking Dead. But just the promo that they played last week, I just wasn't a huge fan of it, and to be honest, the first 4 episodes of Season 4 just haven't, you know, like, they've been missing something. And I don't know whether it was tension or just some huge conflict or something. I was just waiting for something huge to happen. I mean, come on, we've had a few big moments so far in Season 4, but I was just waiting for something even bigger to happen. And I think I got what I was looking for with tonight's episode. Let's just put it that way. Especially with the second half of this episode, because I'm just going to say it right now. I love the hell out of this episode. It might be my favorite episode of Season 4 so far. And I could tell we're finally getting somewhere. I mean, this show is going to start to get good as of right now. I mean, it's going to get even better than it was. I mean, it was good from the beginning, but now it's going to get even better. So, guys, have a lot to discuss. This is going to be a full-out spoiler review, so if you haven't watched the newest episode of The Walking Dead, don't watch this review. I'm going to spoil the whole thing. And there are a lot of cool things that happen in tonight's episode, so I don't want to spoil a thing for you guys. So go watch the episode, then come back and watch me. That would be awesome, guys. So anyway, as I said, I got a lot to discuss. The first thing I'm going to start talking about, guys, is the plot summary for tonight's episode. And then I'm going to give my thoughts. And I actually want to give a couple of my predictions towards the end of this review. So, guys, this episode picks up right where last week's left off. Rick is driving back to the prison. As we all know, in the end of last week's episode, Rick and Carol went on that run for supplies. Rick basically banished Carol from the group. He said, you know what, I'm making this decision for me, for my kids. I don't really feel comfortable with you being in the prison, really. That's basically what he was trying to tell Carol. He realized how hardened Carol has become and how different, how much he's changed over the past year or two during this apocalypse. And we all have seen Carol grow. And he basically banished Carol from the group. And another reason why he did it was because he didn't want Tyreese to find out Carol killed Karen and David, because that's why he banished her. So Rick is driving back to the prison. I love the opening shot of this episode. Just you see the leaves flying down the road, the pavement. That was such a nice opening. It was so well filmed. There was like no sound whatsoever, and then you just hear like this really nice music going on in the background. Rick is driving back to the prison, and this is where this episode, where the heart of the episode takes place. It's at the prison, specifically in the sick ward, because that is the major conflict going on in this episode. It's the infected are starting to get worse. As we all know, literally the whole entire prison, except for a handful of group members, are infected with this virus, and they've been infected since like episode 2 or 3. And as we all know, Daryl and the others, they all went out to go get supplies, but you got this whole ward of infected people. Among the infected, you have Glenn and Sasha, as we all know, that Dr. Caleb guy, Lizzie, that young girl that was close to Carol, she's infected, and Hershel, meanwhile, is with the infected group in the infected ward, as I like to call it, the infected ward, and he's like tending to everyone, you know, he's checking everyone out. Hershel literally was not sick, and he literally went in there about, was it 2 episodes ago? Yeah, 2 episodes ago, with the with the handkerchief with the scarf over his mouth, you know, to keep him from getting sick. Pulls it off, and you know he's exposing himself basically. But I love how Hershel is contributing. This is Hershel's contribution to the group. He's not going out there and killing walkers. Obviously, he's not going out a lot because of his leg, but his contribution is tending to the sick and all. That's where his specialty to the group is, and he feels he's obligated in helping them get better in whatever way he can, instead of just sitting around walking around and not really doing anything, where he could be helping them out and helping them get better as they wait for Daryl and the others to get back with the medicine and the supplies. So that's what's going on. But in tonight's episode, we literally see these people start hemorrhaging, they start coughing up blood, people are starting to turn, and we know, oh shit, this is really bad, because two of the main characters of the show are in the sick ward, and that's Glenn and Sasha. And Hershel's also amongst the sick ward, even though so far it didn't look like he was sick in the beginning of the episode. So Hershel's tending to everyone, and things are just not looking good. So conditions are definitely getting worse in the sick ward of the prison, and really the only healthy ones you have out there that are at the prison currently in the beginning of the episode is Maggie, Carl, Beth, and Judith. That's it. Hershel's with the sick, and that's it. Daryl and the others are all Daryl and the others are all coming back from the supply run and the medicine run, and Rick is just getting back as well. So that's it. Like I said, you have a handful of healthy. So Rick, meanwhile, as everyone's sick, everyone's coughing up blood and everything, and so you see it in their eyes, they're getting paler and everything. Rick gets back to the prison, and we see Maggie in Maggie's first shot in this episode. She's like putting those wooden logs against the fences of the prison, because again we see a huge influx of walkers at the outside fence of the prison, the first fence of the prison. And we realize, oh shit, they're starting to build up around the prison again. And that's obviously a bad thing, because if we remember in episode 2, that was the central problem, one of the central problems in that episode. Someone was feeding the walkers with the rats, and there was a huge buildup of walkers around the prison. And of course, Rick steered them away from the fences by killing the pigs and letting them eat the pigs. And then we didn't see that threat for a while, but now it's back, and there's a whole nother influx of walkers at the fence of the prison. So that we could tell that's going to be a big problem for tonight's episode, and it is, and I can't wait to discuss that. But anyway, Rick tells Maggie what happened with Carol, because Maggie's like, where's Carol? And then Rick's like trying to steer away from talking about Carol, and she's like, Rick, where's Carol? And I seriously thought he was going to lie and tell her that she got bitten or she was killed on their run, but he tells her the truth. And Maggie is at first understanding. When you think about it, I guess Rick was right in doing what he did in banishing Carol, I guess, but in a way he was justified in doing that. In a way, I feel that Carol shouldn't have killed Karen and David, because they were going to die anyway. They were the first two of the first ones that were infected. They were going to die, so she really didn't need to. I understand her intentions, but anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. I talked about that in last week's episode review. So, basically, the episode continues on. Now, the first half of the episode, I'm not saying it was slow, it just wasn't as exciting or as intense as the second half of the episode, which is definitely what won my attention over, hands down. Basically, the first half, Hershel's just walking around checking on everyone. That Dr. Caleb guy is like ready to turn any second. Sasha's really bad. Glenn at first doesn't look that bad. I mean, he's sick, but he's not that bad. Meanwhile, Hershel and Glenn and even Sasha, at some points, they're quietly taking out anyone who died from hemorrhaging and coughing up all that blood, and they're taking them into like these rooms on these stretchers. They're just stabbing them in the head. They don't want everyone else to see that they're killing, that people are dying, and they don't want them to see them killing them. So did that just make sense? I hope it did. So it's basically the first half of the episode. Meanwhile, Rick and Maggie are trying to work on propping up the fence and keep it from caving in by using those wooden log things. Carl's cooped up inside as well. And we don't see Daryl or Michonne or them. They're still out on the road. And about halfway into this episode is where things start to get real. Hershel's walking around tending to everybody. Glenn is like holding this like tube and this like he's pumping like air into this like container into this guy's mouth who's like literally he's about to die. And Glenn is starting to get really bad. Glenn starts coughing up blood, and he's like yelling for Hershel. He just falls on the floor. He's like coughing up blood. Or like, oh no, don't kill Glenn. I'm like, as I was watching this, a part of me told myself, there's no way they're going to kill Glenn off. There's no way they could kill Glenn off, because if they have Glenn die this way, I'll be done. I'll be done, because that's such an unfortunate way for a character like Glenn to go out. That's all I was saying. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. So Hershel, again, he's administering to the sick, and that Dr. Caleb's getting worse. Everyone's getting really bad. And one thing I really loved about this episode was definitely how much it centered on Hershel. This was without a doubt Hershel's episode. Probably, arguably, my favorite Hershel episode. It was even better than the episode with Hershel's infinite shotgun hack. His infinite shotgun ammo. The get off my land. You know, he was just picking off all those walkers. Anyway, I'm rambling here, guys. So this was arguably my favorite Hershel episode, without a doubt, because I really just loved seeing Hershel step up at this point, and it was obviously, you could tell it was hard for him to have to kill and stab these guys in the head when as they were turning, because he was close to all of them. We have seen Hershel kill zombies before, but this is just really personal for him. He's grown close to some of these people in the past 6 or 7 months that they have all been together in the prison. It's really tough on him, but he's stepping up. He's not backing down. He's not really that weak in this episode, and even though we really don't see him being sick, he's still stepping up. So anyway, at some point in the episode, some guy fires a gun at this one walker. I mean, like, this whole bunch of, about 2 or 3 walkers are roaming around the infected ward. Hershel's trying to subdue them, he doesn't want to kill them in front of the kids and all the sick. And this guy fires a gun, and Rick and Maggie are outside, and they hear it. And Rick's like, go ahead inside, Maggie, I'll take care of this. Maggie rushes in, and that's what goes on there. Meanwhile, this Lizzie girl, she's like cornered. This that guy who Glenn was taking care of is like, he has that tube and is still connected to his mouth. He's like inching towards Lizzie, and she's like drawing him away from Glenn, who, as I mentioned, was coughing up blood on the floor in one of the cells, excuse me. And this is the most intense part of the episode, because Hershel's like on the ground. He had to like kill a walker or something, and he's watching this other guy get bitten, the guy who fired the gun, and he's watching Lizzie getting, she's almost going to get caught by this one walker that's inching towards her, and Hershel's got to step up. He's got to make these moves. So Hershel, he goes over to Lizzie because the zombie falls on Lizzie. He like takes that one zombie and he just fucking, excuse my language, he just throws him over the what do you call it, the rail or whatever, and he falls in like this thing. I don't know. That was awesome. Hershel, that's why I just loved Hershel in this episode. I mean, he was such a boss. I loved him in this episode, and I loved when he showed his true colors. Definitely, that was awesome. So, Hershel saves Lizzie, and Maggie is trying to get into the sick ward, the infected ward. She's like, she like takes an axe to the door. No one can open the door because everyone's in their cells, because the walkers are starting to come out and things are getting really intense. They got the music playing. It's getting really slow. I mean, things are starting to build up. There's tension, and that's why I love tonight's episode, because of that strong amount of tension that was present. It was so awesome. It felt amazing, and I was really impressed with that with tonight's episode. Anyway, on the outside, this is when things start to get even more intense. You have Rick and Carl. Rick gets Carl out side with him because they got to help, prop up the fences and stop him from caving in. They're setting up those logs against the fences. Rick and Carl have this really nice moment together. And suddenly the fence snapped. Those wooden logs start snapping in half, and the fence caves in, and the walkers just start piling into the prison, into that first fence. So the first fence is broken, and I knew that was going to happen at some point because of that teaser poster of Rick and the broken fence, and that was just so awesome. So Rick and Carl are screwed. They get into the prison. The walkers are trapped at the second layer of fence. And they know that's it. That these walkers are gonna get into the prison at any moment. We're screwed. We're sitting ducks here. So Rick and Carl get over to their ammo supply. They have like this whole like little stockpile area. They got ammo. They got guns. Rick pulls out 2 M4 assault rifles. Hands one to Carl. They each have several magazines. And they load their guns, and they just open fire because the walkers get through the second fence. That was one of the only problems I had with tonight's episode. I was like, how did they get through that fence so easy? But anyway, they start picking off walkers. Like, they're just blasting them away. They're getting headshots left and right, and they just pick a whole bunch of them off. And you could tell Rick really doesn't want Carl to have to go through this. You know, he doesn't want Carl to have to fire them for it. But you know what? They got to keep this prison intact and to keep everyone safe inside. You know, because you have all the sick inside. But to keep the walkers from getting into the prison, they got to fend off these walkers. So they're picking off walkers, and they're literally on their own. They're outside. It's nighttime. Forgot to mention that by this time, guys. Sorry about that. And meanwhile, Hershel gets over to Glenn. Maggie gets inside to the sick ward. She literally shoots a window, just barges in, and Glenn is just about to turn. Like, this is it for him. So I think Maggie does kill a walker, and Hershel runs over to that walker that's on that that tarp or whatever. And he has, you know, how I said he had that thing connected to him, like the thing that was helping him breathe or whatever. He pulls that off that walker. Maggie shoots that walker from, down below through the tarp. And he pulls that thing off the walker's face, gets it to Glenn just in time, like just in the nick of time, right before Glenn coughs up his own blood and turns and dies. I mean. So they give Glenn air or whatever that thing does. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, they saved Glenn. I was just so relieved. Maggie was there and Hershel were there, and they did it. They saved Glenn. And then it cuts back to Rick and Carl, and they literally killed every single walker. And then there were tons of walkers there. There were like a whole load of walkers, guys. I'm not even joking. There had to have been at least 60, 70 walkers. I don't know if there were 100. I don't know if there were 100. There had to have been about 60, 70, 80 walkers at least. Rick and Carl just picked them all off. Now, is that possible? I guess. That was pretty badass, but be that as it may, they killed them all, so what does it matter? So literally just as they finish going around and stabbing walkers in the head, Daryl and the others, Daryl, Tyreese, Michonne, and Bob Stookey all pull up in the truck. Literally, I mean, I'm like, you were almost too late, guys. It's alright, only several people turned. I know it was a 7-hour drive back to the prison, but still, I mean, they could have come, if only they came a little bit earlier, they could have saved a few more lives. So yeah, they quickly get into the prison, and they're just giving out medicine. Bob Stookey gets there and gives medicine to Glenn. Tyreese runs over to Sasha, who is almost about to pass out as well. She's terrible, and she's doing horrible. And they get the medicine to the sick, and everyone that is still left alive, I'm assuming they're giving medicine to all of them, and that's that. So that big threat, that big conflict is now taken care of, because the last 3 episodes, that was the main problem. We had this whole virus going around. There was no medicine or no cure or anything like that, but now they got back. The group got back with the supplies. It's about time. And they saved everyone who's left alive. So Glenn and Sasha are in the clear. They are alive. I assume Lizzie is. And again, Hershel, I guess he is too. And I love the ending scene right before they cut to the final commercial. Hershel walks into the cell and he pulls out the Bible, I think in Dr. Caleb's cell, who was also killed. Hershel had to kill him, I think. And he just starts crying because, you know, everything Hershel had to go through in this episode, which is why I thought Hershel was a freaking boss in tonight's episode. But anyway, so yeah, and in the end, you really didn't lose any major characters except for a very minor character, I think Dr. Caleb. But other than that, you lost most of the Woodbury citizens, so as long as we didn't lose anyone major, that's okay with me. I just didn't want to lose any major characters. Okay, guys, moving on. And then finally, guys, the last scene, the last few scenes of the episode, and the ending of this episode, I freaked out. I lost it when I saw that final shot in this episode, and that was probably one of the best parts of the whole episode. Apart from the really intense moments about Rick and Carl with the walkers on the outside of the prison, and Hershel running around trying to save the sick in the inside. And that was all great, but in the final few scenes, it's morning now. Rick walks out, you know, he's going by his normal morning. Carl goes with him, and they're putting Michonne and Hershel are like putting bodies on this truck, and I guess they're gonna go burn them all. And Hershel's like, "Hell yeah, I'm going with you," whatever. I mean, Hershel's just so awesome in this episode. So yeah, and they talk about how Glenn is alright, and they're all right. Meanwhile, Daryl, we finally get to hear from Daryl in this episode, and he's like, Where's Carol? Off in the A block with Lizzie or with Mika or whatever. And Hershel's like, don't worry, Daryl, she's fine. Talk to Rick. And Daryl at first when Hershel tells him that Carol's not there, you see a look in his face, and you're like, this is not good at all. But when Hershel tells him she's all right, just talk to Rick, and they ended at that. So Daryl does not get to talk to Rick in the end of tonight's episode, but that's okay. They're obviously going to probably continue that in this upcoming episode or the episode after that. I'm not sure about that, and there's a reason why they might not continue that, and I'm going to get into that right now. But anyway, I can imagine Daryl's reaction to finding out that Carol is not with the group anymore and that Rick banished her. So I can't wait to see that unfold. But anyway, in the final shot in this episode, and I love what they're going to do with this show now. I literally, my heart started pounding when I heard the music, and I knew what was going to happen. And as you guys know, they just dealt with these two biggest threats. One of the biggest threats was the infected, that virus, but now they finally got some medicine, so they're good with that. And then the thing with the walkers and the fence, so they just dealt with that. Obviously more walkers can come back. They got to repair the fence. And then the worst possible thing that you could ever think of happens at the end of this episode. You see a shot of the prison from far away from the outside, where like the walkers would roam, and the shot like moves like to the left or whatever, and you see a shot of the governor. And I was like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, as soon as I started hearing the music, because I've been like, I know this music, I'm like, yes, I think it's happening. I'm like, yes, and then I saw him, I'm like, yes, he's back. I got so excited when I saw the shot of the governor, and you just see him staring into the prison, and then the episode cuts to black. That was a badass way to end this episode. That was so freaking awesome. Oh my god, I literally had chills. I had chills in the very last shot of the episode of the governor, and I cannot wait for next week, because I had literally been waiting for him to come back. I was like, when is the governor coming back? When is the governor coming back? Because I think that is the one thing that I've been missing with this season. It's that conflict, that tension that the governor brought with season 3, and that's why I know I'm gonna love the next couple episodes, because the governor is back. Now, don't get me wrong, guys, I still love tonight's episode. The tension was strong even before we saw that final shot of the governor. I mean, I love how the writers and everyone that worked on tonight's episode really built the tension with not only the music, but with the story, because you had these two big conflicts going on with Rick and Carl on the outside and Hershel on the inside with the infected, and it was just genius writing, the timing and all that, and that was amazing. That's what I loved about tonight's episode. Without a doubt, tonight's episode is my favorite of season 2 by far, of season 4, excuse me. It's definitely my favorite. It was what I wanted in The Walking Dead. It brought that tension back to me. I started feeling that tension and the suspense. It just started building and building, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't know what was going to happen next. That's why I love tonight's episode. So guys, I'm going to give tonight's episode a 9.5 out of 10. I really can't find anything to complain about with tonight's episode, except maybe I feel that the walkers got into the prison way too easily. Like, I know there was a whole bunch of them against the fences, but I don't think they would have broken the fences that quickly, especially the second fence. That's my only minor complaint I had with this episode. Other than that, the rest of it was excellent. The tension was strong. Performances were great as always. I mean, the last shot blew me away. I love where they're going with the show now, because this group just finished dealing with this threat of this infection, and now they just finished dealing with this threat of the buildup of walkers. Now they got to repair their fences, and now you have the governor back, and shit's gonna get real. That's all I have to say, and that's why I love tonight's episode. I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Without a doubt, it's my favorite of season 4 so far, and I can't wait. So they show us a clip of next week's episode, guys. We see the governor. I'm going to talk about it real quick. We see the governor by this campfire, and this walker starts walking towards him, and the walker just falls into the fire, and it gets shot in the face by Martinez. So we know Martinez is still with the governor. I'm assuming that that other guy is still with them as well. That Bowman guy, I think his name was. I don't remember. And you just see him staring off into this with this sadistic look on his face. That's why I can't wait to see him back in the show, back on the show, because he just brought so much tension, and So I loved about his character. I loved how he was just so sadistic, and I can't wait to see his sadistic ways back for season 4. I mean, it's going to be so awesome. I cannot wait for the governor to come back in next week's episode. I think next week's episode is going to center a lot on him. I don't know if we're going to see so much of the prison next week, which is fine by me. It's episode 6. We got 3 more episodes left. I see something really big happening for the hiatus after episode 8. I see a death or something going to happen caused by the governor. I don't know. But predictions, guys, yeah, as I mentioned, I love this episode. But predictions, I seriously think the governor may have been tying those rats to the walls. I know what's happening on the inside, but I just have a feeling like he's been watching the prison for a long time. And a lot of speculation has been going around. Has the governor gotten a new army together? I don't think he has. I really don't. Maybe he did. I don't know. I didn't see anyone. There were just 3 tents set up. I guess it was for him, Martinez, and that Bowman guy. So I don't think they got any. I don't think they got anyone else. Any group members. So I think it's just him and those 2. And I think he just wants his revenge on this group. Wants revenge on Michonne for killing Penny, and obviously he wants to kill Rick and all the rest of them. So as he had wanted to in the end of season 3, but obviously didn't get to. So guys, things are going to start to really heat up now that the governor's back, and I think that's what I really wanted, was just for the governor to finally come back, because he was just such a perfect antagonist. He brought so much to the show, and that's why I can't wait to see him back in next week's episode. I can't wait to see him back as the next biggest threat that this group is going to face. I mean, they literally just dealt with all this crap, and now they're going to deal with the governor again. I mean, it's going to be awesome. So, guys, I love tonight's episode, Internment. What did you guys think of it? It was really good. I loved it. I don't know if it's one of my favorites. It's definitely the best of season 4. It's one of the best ones I've seen in a while, actually. So, thanks a lot for watching, guys. What did you think of tonight's episode? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, guys, check out my Thor: The Dark World movie review. If you guys could do that, that would be awesome if you could. So, yeah, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye, guys.